Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Speed Talk. Today I'm joined by Jambo and ZackInTheBox.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice
And
to see you all here.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
and this is the first episode of Speed Talk. So for anyone just on the channel, this is my new speedrunning podcast. Every episode we're gonna have different guests, or in this case, guests, and we're just gonna talk about kind of their journey in speedrunning, whatever it is that they like kind of specialize in, and yeah, all of that sort of stuff. And for those who don't know, Jambo and Zack are obviously the any percent 2P world record holders in Super Mario Odyssey. So they have a pretty interesting story because they kind of just happen to like go to the same college and stuff or university. So yeah, Jambo, we'll start with you. Just kind of go through like your journey in the Odyssey community, not even just like the two-player experience, but just like in general, your like whole journey with Odyssey.
Right. Well, it's a bit of a blurred line as to kind of when I started, 'cause I kind of don't really remember myself, but I know it was sometime in late 2019. Um, and I think this story will be quite similar to Zach's story and a lot of other stories that got people into speedrunning this game. Is I started watching YouTube videos and came across Fierce and Fire and came across Small Ant and thought, oh, I might as well give it a go myself and see how it goes. But I think I got SMO in like January 2019, and I got my Switch in January 2019, so it's not hackable, unfortunately. Don't have practice mod. And just played it casually for a bit. Started speedrunning by the end of the year, and as most people are aware, I didn't kind of really spawn into the community until I had like a 101. And it's probably the most Jambo reason why. I always used to play on handheld. I used to play on Joy-Cons, interestingly, until I had like a 103. And it's because my TV just wouldn't work at all, seemingly. It's like I'd have so much input delay, I'd have so much lag. And I was like, oh, I wonder if there was like a different like mode that I can put my TV in. And in fairness to me, it was very hard to find. It was a very, very obscure name. It was called game mode. And one day I discovered it, put my TV into game mode, and I was like, wow, I've got no input delay. I can, play on the TV. I can film my runs. I can, upload them and really put myself out there. But I think the first thing that really got me out there was BTT. I'd come home from school one day, from college one day. For those not from the UK, college for us is the school you go to between 16 and 18. So I think I was 16. Came home from college, and Spezzy, who I've been friends with since I was about 11 or 12, spoke to me. I was like, oh, James, I've had an idea for a BTT segment in Metro at the start of Metro. And sure enough, I did a couple of attempts, got a segment that was -2 frames. Spezzy posted it into the Discord, and I was like, who's Jambo? Who's Jambo? And I got Discord a couple of days later and kind of slowly made my way into the community. And I think it became fully announced when like the BTT video came out later that month. It was like BTT V7, I think it was. Watch it if you haven't already. Even though it's like 4 years old. So yeah, and I think my PB at that time was 101.51. And at this current point in time, my 90% PB is a 56.59. So yeah, and I mean, until I met Zach, it was very much I was playing huge amount every single day. I think at points, especially when our country went into lockdown, at the beginning of 2021, and specifically, I mean, it's not really a coincidence that I went from 101 to 59 in 3 months, because I was playing for like 10 hours a day for 3 months straight. Got 59 in March 2021. Got 58 in October 2021. Got 57 in April 2022. And then, yeah, I kind of stopped with any percent for a bit after getting 57. And then this was the summer 2022, before we moved to uni. Met Zach in his chat because he was doing. I'll tell you what it was. Zach was doing a stream where It was an 80% stream.
Oh, the revision stream.
Reset,
Yeah.
the revision stream. Every single reset, Zach had to do, was it 10 maths questions?
10 A-level maths revision questions.
10 A-level math questions. And if you don't know, I'm studying math at university, so I was interested. I came into chat and I was kind of chipping in a bit. And we kind of got talking. There were a couple of other people that are our age as well that were going to university that September. And we got talking about kind of what unis we were going to, what we were studying. And I said that I was going to the University of York. Got the merch.
I noticed the hoodie before.
Nice.
Very nice.
And I think Zach missed it at the time. Ignored me.
did,
Obviously,
yeah.
wasn't a fan of my personality at the time. And afterwards, he messaged me. I was like, Jambo, we're going to the same uni. I was like, crazy. And yeah, if I'm honest, I can't remember too much about like the couple of days before we moved in. I think we were messaging each other trying to arrange like a meetup or something. But I met Zach when I was going for a walk exploring our campus, and I passed Zach's building. I was like, "Oh, I'm outside. Do you want to come and meet me?" And there was a ditch outside Zach's accommodation.
Oh, the ditch.
My first impression of Zach was him doing a very, very gracious leap over the ditch. And from that moment onwards, I thought, we're going to be good friends, me and this man. And we went out for drinks that night. It was great. And I told him that night, obviously I hadn't PB'd since maybe June 2022.
You said you were going to stop any percent, didn't you?
In my mind, was going to quit the game. I pretty much already decided it. And I think that was at the end of September, and it took a month. For... Did I message you? I think I came into your chat. I was like, do you want to give 2p a go? We gave 2p a go, end of October. And we obviously enjoyed it enough to carry on doing it for the last almost 2 years now.
And more importantly, I mean, that inspired you to go back to one player during the holidays and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't... When did I come back to 1p? I don't think I touched it until the next summer.
No, I don't think you did. But then the next summer, I mean, you got your 5728 or something? 5720. 5720, of course.
Yeah, and I was 56 capable. And then popped my knee out. That was fun.
That's for later on in the episode.
That's for later on in the episode. I'll go into more detail later on. But then obviously moved back into uni for second year. Came back over Christmas, got the 56, got the dark side world record. Almost said darker side world record. That one's later.
I mean, we had literally 4 weeks off for Christmas and exams during our holidays. And I mean, he still in that time managed to get 56 within a week and then get a world record in dark side. I mean,
that's crazy.
I'll never understand him.
But yeah, I mean, that I suppose is as far as my speedrunning history goes, in like the briefest possible way.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, over to you, Zach.
Yeah.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, if you have anything to add.
It's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I guess I've always been more of a streamer ahead of a speedrunner. Since I was like a kid, I was making YouTube videos and stuff. I mean, they were awful, but I always wanted to be like a YouTuber and, like get loads of views and subscribers and stuff. And it was in lockdown where I was like, you know what? Let me try streaming. I play a lot of games all the time and I record them. It'd be more interesting if I had people to talk to. So that's kind of how I got into speedrunning. And I started in around 2020 again. I watched like Small Ant and stuff. I loved Mario Odyssey. I knew that speedrunning was around, and I watched the tutorials and did a couple runs, and that was going to be it. I started speedrunning to make a YouTube video. I was going to make a YouTube video called I Tried Speedrunning Mario Odyssey, do like one run, edit it into a video, and I was going to do it with a bunch of different games. That was my whole plan. And sure enough, there's a video on my channel called I Tried Speedrunning Minecraft, where I did like one Minecraft run, edit it into video. I did an Odyssey run, and I was like, you know what, that was pretty fun. Let me just do a couple more, just for the video, right? Just for the video. That video never came out. I spent the next 4 years doing Mario Odyssey speedruns, kind of accidentally. But yeah, I mean, my progress has been a lot more slow burning than Jambo's. I mean, like you said, 3 months from 101 to 58 or 59, and then another 4 months till 58. It's absolutely crazy. For me, as someone who kind of puts my streams first, I did a lot more than just speedrunning. I'd only stream like a few times a week, but I'd make them kind of, you know, bigger events. I'd really put in a lot of work into the production of my streams themselves. Yeah, it was like 8 months for me to go from my first ever run, my 143, to like a 105. And then with breaks and doing other category and moving to uni, it was like, oh gosh, I want to say like 2 years to get from 105 to 101. And then that was about a year ago. And I'm going for sub hour now. So I'm much more of a slow burner in the way that I do runs. But, you know, it's okay. It's all for the content.
Yeah. And that's actually, like, that's pretty interesting, though, because in a way, I kind of consider your, like, 2-player videos to be that video from 4 years ago of trying to speedrun Mario Odyssey, I guess. So it's pretty interesting. It's kind of
that's a good way of putting it. It's like, I got the video in the end, but it wasn't just doing one no reset, getting a 140, and making funny highlights video. I accidentally made I tried speedrunning Mario Odyssey and got the any percent world record video just completely on accident. Yeah,
that would have been a crazy title.
Yeah. Whoops, my bad.
Yeah. But yeah, for anyone watching, ZackInTheBox, make sure to check out his YouTube videos. He has like his 2-player video that like just came out pretty recently is actually like one of the best videos I've seen on YouTube in recent memory. And it does not have enough attention yet, so we need it to have more attention.
For those of you that haven't seen it, it's how 2-player became Mario Odyssey's fastest speedrunning category on YouTube. Watch it now.
Yes.
Thank you, James.
Watch it right after this.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how many people can remember, but from it was mainly the last. I mean, it was obviously the last week I was doing 2 because that's when the video came out. But I'd drop a sneaky promotion of the video.
Jambo's very good at promoting my videos. Yeah.
But I didn't care. It wasn't my stream. I could do it completely shamelessly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked quite well. So I mean,
yeah, that's sick. So on to some 2-player discussion, since that's obviously what you guys are most known for. So obviously you guys are 2 different people with 2 different lives. So how do you really like find the time to do 2P runs? Is there like a certain schedule? Do you ever like put time away from other things to make sure that you can do 2P runs together? How does that kind of work during the school year when you always have like work and stuff obviously to do? Either of you can start.
We tried to keep as much of a schedule as we could. For the most part, for the past 2 years, we've been doing it once a week. But there obviously have been times where we've been more kind of desperate to get a PB, and we've been doing either 2 days a week or just a full week of 2P. But the main reason we'd been able to do that is because we'd finished with our university year, we'd finished with all of our exams and everything. So yeah, but for the most part, obviously, we're both very busy. We've got uni degrees to do, obviously, which is tons and tons of work. We've both got, we've both got personal lives, we've got social lives. We live with, or last year lived with 4 other people each.
And I mean, I'm still streaming at university. Like, James only streams himself and he's back home, but I still try and go live like 4 times a week, even during uni. So it is very busy. You're absolutely right. But like you said, we just designate 1 day a week, and we take basically the entire day to do it. We meet up like as early in the afternoon as possible, which is basically when Jambo wakes up because his sleep schedule is a bit hit or miss. He'll basically like first year it was Wednesdays, second year it was Fridays, and it'll just be he'll come to my house at like 2 p.m. or whatever. We'll just do practice until 6 or 7. We'll go get some food, and then we'll stream until like 2 a.m. So it's just like a whole day completely dedicated to 2P runs every week. But it works really well because then we still have 6 days to ourselves to do our own personal things, and I think that's worked well for us. Yeah,
we've managed to balance it very, very well.
Yeah,
and I mean, we haven't had any fallouts with other people in our lives for spending too much time playing Mario. So at least I haven't anyway. I don't know about Zach.
No, it's been fine.
We have had to kind of liaise with people a few times to actually make 2P sessions happen, and we have had to reschedule once or twice, but everyone's happy. And we've been able to. I think we barely missed a week this year, haven't we? It's been maybe one or two.
We've done
times
really
where
well, yeah.
We've done very well. We've done very well. And hopefully it's even better next year. And I mean, I'm moving house, and I'm closer to where Zach's living at the moment. So instead of like a 20-minute walk for me, it'll maybe be about a 5 or 10-minute walk. So
yeah, it'll be much better. The 20-minute walk is actually more of a problem than you think, especially when it's winter. We're finishing at like 2, 3 a.m. It's like pitch black, freezing cold, raining. It does discourage us a lot. So. Yeah.
And I think we're also very lucky, just on a side note, that we live in the city that we do, because it's very safe. And I think otherwise I would be fearing.
No, I agree.
When I walk back at that
yeah.
So, it's quite interesting when I pass someone on the way back.
Are you not allowed like cars in university over there? Or
we are. It's just very, very expensive. Yeah,
that's fair. I don't drive.
Okay. I mean, he doesn't have a driving license. I do, but. I mean, I'm skint as anything.
Yeah.
But you don't have a car.
That's not happening.
No, that's completely fair. I'm not even gonna have. Yeah. I'm also probably not gonna have a car in college. Although, like in America, I feel like everyone has cars on campus in college. It's really crazy, actually. Yeah, parking lots are just always packed.
They have space for it.
Yeah, it's insane. They have to have a lot of parking available for it. But yeah. So. My next question, I guess, is: has there ever been like a time or anything where one of you have been kind of burnt out from doing 2-player, and the other like has been the complete opposite, I guess, and has wanted to do 2-player? And has that ever been like a conflict of sorts, or is it just kind of you guys are always on the same page, I guess?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure that particularly has on like a bigger scale. I guess within actual sessions, obviously, like one of us will always get tired before the other and we'll want to like finish up runs sooner. But I think in general, as a whole, we've both been pretty motivated because we've always been working towards something, and playing only once a week, we always kind of feel the pressure to kind of get that. So, you know, in our first year, it was just trying to get the world record for the first time. We got the world record in March, and then before the summer holidays, it was trying to get the overall record and get 2-player to be the fastest category. And then that never happens. And the next term, we were trying to do that again before Christmas. And after Christmas, we've been trying to get 55. So I think because there's always been a goal to push towards and a time pressure to get that goal in, yeah, I think we've just always been pretty motivated, and, you know, planning out one session a week, always sticking to it, having that schedule, it just helps us to be excited for it.
Yeah, it works very well. And another important aspect, actually, quite similar to that, is obviously in 1P, it's very binary. It's either you play well or you don't. Right? But with 2P, especially with, you know, as high level as the way that we have to play at the moment, we both have to be playing well. So if, and we've spoke about this before, if one person, just one of us, has an off day, it'll pretty much ruin the entire session. And we'll be, you know, we won't get runs going. We'll just spend like 4, 5, 6 hours resetting to early game. And like we both have to be in the mood. We both have to be playing well. And that is why when we did that, you know, week-long 2P session, basically, you could see us gradually getting better and better, and like having, you know, better and better runs over the course of the week, because, you know, obviously we were playing every day, we were both improving, we were both getting more consistent, which obviously worked much better. And like it's obviously been very clear at times when, you know, when one of us isn't playing well. And I think, to be fair to us, it is quite an even split. It's like
I think it is, yeah.
For the most part, it's not like one of us playing well more often than the other one playing well.
I mean, it can definitely get, I don't want to say frustrating, because I'm sure this is one of your questions, but we've never really had a problem with like getting frustrated at each other for making mistakes, that sort of thing. But like you say, when we did that week straight of 2-player runs just before summer this year, and he said we were getting better every day, that was true. But I felt like for me, because as Cappy, my inputs are much easier, there's a lot less of them, you know, there's a lot less that can go wrong. I was already kind of reaching my peak by like Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. And it was kind of just waiting for James to catch up as the player with a much, much harder job to do. And there's times like that where it's like, like for the entirety of like Wednesday of that week, I played perfectly and made almost no mistakes. But obviously James was still, struggling a bit to be consistent enough to get 55. And then it was like, I was just trying to maintain that level which I'd already hit. And at that point, it does kind of, if I was playing that good by myself in 1P, I would have already got the PB. But because there's two of us that it relies on, it's hard to keep up that level of concentration the whole time when one person is behind the other, I guess, in terms of their consistency.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense, because I do completely agree that Cappy is definitely, there's a lot less going on. There is still a lot going on. I did try doing some 2P.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I did try doing 2P at pace, and I was surprised how fun it was, even though I was usually playing as Cappy, because everyone who went to pace is crazy. But it's kind of insane, how much Cappy actually gets to do, especially when you get to a higher and higher level, because obviously at pace, I wasn't even doing too many hard strats, because it's not like we practice stuff. So for a lot of it was just the Mario player doing one player movement. But it was still a lot of fun. But I do imagine it could get a little boring when you're kind of just doing it all the time. So
to some degree, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Most people, including us, when you start doing 2P, it's mostly just the Mario player doing movement, the Cappy player throwing in some vaults here and there, capturing some enemies. And the more and more you do it, and the more stuff you learn, Cappy gets more and more involved. And for us, basically every single piece of movement and every single movement in the whole game, I'm involved in some way. So there's not much time to get bored. I find early game resets, for me, are especially difficult because there's so many cutscenes, and there is a lot in Cascade and Sand, which is just James's movement. But after that, it's pretty involved for me. But I mean, yeah, I think people do underlook the difficulty of playing Cappy at a world record level, because obviously nowhere near as hard as what James has to do. I'm not even going to pretend for a second, but it's still pretty damn difficult. I think most inputs, a lot of the vaults and stuff, have very, very slim windows to get them out, reacting to James's roll boost and the ways he's moving. I mean, there's tons and tons of frame perfect tricks and 2-frame tricks as Cappy all throughout it. And I think even though there's less inputs per second, I think the inputs I have to do reacting to James's moves are actually a lot more precise. So I can't really lose that level of concentration. And in that way, it's not like I can just sit back and get bored of doing it. I still have to be focused the whole time.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, honestly. It is actually the reacting to what James's movement is definitely makes a lot of sense, because obviously it's going to be slightly different every time, even if it's the same exact moves. The lines are always going to be slightly different.
Yeah,
he might make mistakes, so you do have to kind of react and read each other pretty well.
It's not even things like mistakes. It's let's take City Hall. After you grab the chest moon at the top and you get to the exit of City Hall, what James does is, on top of the chest after grabbing the moon, he drops down from the moon cutscene, does a spin pound, I vault him off the chest, and we do a double vault over there. That vault off the chest probably has less than a 5-frame window.
Yeah.
And more than it just having less than a 5-frame window, let's say James does his spin pound 2 frames faster than usual. That might be 2 frames too quickly for my muscle memory, right? Or 2 frames too slow. It's it goes either way. So it's sometimes some things are too quick to react to. And if James literally just does a spin pound a few frames differently to how he usually does it, or I press a vault button a few frames differently, that suddenly just doesn't work with each other, because I'm basing it off him. It's really weird.
Yeah, I get that. That happened a lot, actually, at pace when I was doing 2P. Whenever we were trying to do a spin pound immediately followed by a vault, it's really easy to vault the player right after they go off of the ground, and then not get your your cap bounce or your second vault. And it's also somewhat easy to vault too early before he even does the spin pound or the roll. So you really do have to just react, because obviously spin pounds are always going to be a different amount of time that takes to do the spin pound.
And that sort of thing is something that you build more chemistry wise with the other player. Obviously I've had a lot of experience with Cappy. If I played Cappy with any other one player, or like Mario player, I'd probably do a pretty good job of it compared to someone who's never played Cappy. But with James especially, like we have a lot of chemistry, I guess, that we've built in terms of that I've spent so long just watching him and like playing with him that I just know his timings for everything. I know how quickly he does spin pounds, like how he like does roll boosts and different pieces of movement. It's like with anyone else who might like time them just slightly differently, I'd probably be completely thrown off.
I think as well, I know you touched on people underlooking how difficult Cappy is. I think people also underlook how difficult Mario is, especially in 2P.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the mechanics, you might not notice it just from watching, but the mechanics are like genuinely so different. And I think that just comes from, for whatever reason, you can't really buffer inputs in 2P.
Yeah.
And I think you take for granted how often you do it in 1P, at least I did anyway. And there were so many times that I was trying to like, you know, cap throw at certain points, like especially after moon cutscenes, you try and cap throw to get a cap bounce out of a place and it, you know, doesn't come out as quickly as it usually does. And you learn that because you're buffering the cap throw, you can get it first frame in 1P usually. It's just things like that you have to time a lot better in 2P as opposed to mashing it throughout the cutscene and or the jump or whatever that you're trying to buffer it from. And I suppose the inputs in 2P are then a lot more precise. And the other thing as well is that input drops are much more common. Like Zack sending out Cappy could drop one of my inputs. Him hitting a capture could drop an input. And there's been countless times, I think you pointed it out in the first 2P doc, where like you'd sent Cappy out and I got an input drop in a couple of places.
Yeah.
And you do kind of have to wangle your way around it. Like we have to do one example is we have to do Snowdrop a different way because the inputs are just a bit tighter and you have to time them a lot, you know, a lot more precisely. But in a lot of cases, we've been able to find a way around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's once you know how to deal with the problems that 2P causes, it doesn't seem as bad. And I might get my head cut off for saying this, but I think I prefer 2P to 1P.
Really? You've never said that before, really?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's fair enough.
It could just be that I'm just not sat here on my own doing it, and I'm just got someone beside me playing Mario instead.
That's true. I mean, there is definitely a social aspect to it, but I think in terms of if you don't really understand like what we mean by saying that it's much harder without buffered inputs, because buffering inputs is something that doesn't really become relevant to think about until quite a high level anyway. Like you just kind of do it subconsciously. If you don't know what we mean, go to the mech fight in Bowser's, turn on 2P, just put the Cappy control on the table, and just try and kill mech the way that you would do in 1P. I promise you're going to have a really hard time. Because that fight especially, I think, is one of the ones where like you need to get those inputs out first frame. And it's like people get so surprised that you know, they're like pressing the cap throw button after getting launched off the back and like, I'm not getting cap throws, I'm falling down a bunch. And it's like, I think that's a really good example of what James has to deal with through the whole run. You have to time your inputs on those first frames instead of just mashing the Y button to get them out.
Yeah, it is crazy how different 1P is from 2P, like just as Mario. Like I tried doing a darker side 2P run recently to get second place, which I did do, but it was very close. And it probably lost me like 25 to 30 minutes total just from the differences. I mean, I knew about the differences going into the run too. It was just trying to like kind of adapt to them because they are very hard if you're not used to them. For Jambo, does it ever get like when you are doing 2P one day and then if you like did 1P like very soon after, do you ever get like the roll cancels messed up because of the different timing or anything like that?
I think it's very minor for me, and weirdly, I think he will explain this in a sec. It is actually more common for Zack to get confused between 1P and 2P, even though he plays Cappy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The main thing that I struggle with, and there is actually a very specific example for me, is counting roll boosts. And I was doing an 80% session yesterday, just like a spontaneous 80% session. And I messed up the beginning of Night Metro twice to just the movement to the wire, just because I was trying to do like 5, 6, 7 rolls at the beginning when you're only supposed to do 4. But for me, it's like I'm very lucky in that I've been able to kind of separate my muscle memory for 1P and 2P. So I haven't had too many problems. I think it literally is just the counting roll boosts. And I think, to be fair, before I do runs, I do kind of just mess about and run around in kingdoms, and sometimes I have caught myself like trying to roll cancel in the same way that I would in 2P. But it's a very easy fix. It's kind of just like a switch in my brain.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways you've said that 2P has helped you get better at 1P through like learning, like we said, you have to learn to time your inputs instead of buffering them, and I think that can actually be quite helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, I think it's just generally I've gotten more like knowledgeable of mechanics. And I mean, I don't know what it is. I think it might just be just playing the game for, obviously it's been like, well, nearly a year since I got. Oh no, I suppose it's been 6 months since I last did an 80% grind, I suppose. But it's not like I haven't been playing in those 6 months. I haven't been playing 1P, but I haven't not been playing the game. Like, I've been playing the game every week. And as well, I think I'm just a lot more like open to adding new strats in 2P because we're world record level. I'm more like, well, now I kind of just have to add everything. Whereas in 1P, I could kind of like leave things out. I guess I'm kind of just a bit more ballsy with strats in 2P that I then learn how to do, and I care a lot less about in 2P, but I'm more laid back in 2P than I am in 1P.
It's also much easier to back things up in 2P, which usually helps.
So I guess from taking it as like a much more laid back approach to learning strats in 2P, and then obviously learn them and can use them in 1P, like the 1P exclusive things. So I guess that helps as well. And like, obviously from I don't know if you saw, but from my 90% session yesterday, I felt like I'd improved so much, and I haven't been playing the category in 6 months. So, yeah, I do feel like, and I mean, you say as well, like, I kind of just catch up to our 2P PBs.
Every single time we get a 2P PB, which we're like so proud of, and then we go away for like the holidays for 2 months, and he's already beat it in 1P. And it's like, well, now we just have to grind again.
Although I feel like our current 2P PB is.
I feel like that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That probably will stop happening soon. Because beating 5605 in 1P is definitely pretty hard, as you can imagine, just watching Tyrone. But
one day.
Yeah. So speaking of strats, though, how do you guys like come up with strats for your run, since you guys are obviously like world record holders in 2P, so you can't really just adopt strats of the higher runners. Except for like some of the 1P strats Tyrone does, but how do you
we're very proud of our run because it is really, compared to any other category, it is our run. Like, start to finish, everything we do is completely unique to us. I mean, obviously, we haven't made everything. We've taken stuff from BTT, from TAS, from from like Gorgonim, who's the second place holder and really good at the game. We've looked at old world records like Oromi and Parasite's old runs, even back to like Shaden and Nicky Tricks. They've come from absolutely everywhere, and then a lot of our stuff thrown in. But compared to 1P, where even at James's level, it's still going to be mostly a case of just copying what the good runners do for 56 minutes. In 2P, it really is like a run that we've produced ourselves, and every single bit of it has a story behind it, has some bit of like labbing out and timing things and stuff. Like,
for one individual strat is the late Shards route, which is pretty new. How, like, explain like the process of coming up with that reroute, because it kind of blew my mind the first time I saw it, and a lot of other people.
I think James is better taking this one because it was mostly his idea.
Yeah,
I tell you what, it was. It's a bit of a long story, this, because you originally tried to base it off of an old BTT.
Yeah, it was BTTV
2, I
I think
think.
it was V3.
For 2P.
or V3. There
It
was
was V3.
VTT V3 on Army's channel. They kind of, it wasn't as crazy as the current Lake Shards route, which is in any percent, but when they got to Jutting Crag, they, instead of going back to town, they did Invisiblock then. From Jutting Crag, they vaulted over to the Invisiblock and kind of did that in Poison Room then, and then, I don't remember exactly what it was, but...
I think they did the Drem to the Fork too, actually, which is
cool.
Yeah,
and they did Fork Dram too.
They did it a slightly different way to what we do now, and that's obviously another case of us kind of labbing out strats and adapting our own way of doing it, but
that made us think, like, Luncheon does have... It's what I talked about in video. The initial point was Luncheon has a lot of backtracking. It does. You go through the town twice, and that's surely not optimal. And in 2-player, we have an advantage in that we can cross the lava really quickly. 1-player crossing lava is super slow because you have to throw Cappy, fall down, bounce, land back onto Cappy, you have no speed. In 2-player, you can do lava vaults, which basically, if you hit the vault button on the same frame that you touch the lava, you get like huge speed boost. So it's really fast to traverse it. And we're like, surely we can use something here to cut out backtracking. So James went away, and I don't know what his process was, but
it was over the course of, I think, 4 days, 3 or 4 days, just trying to brute force every single idea that I had, and I think I maybe had about 10 in total. 10 different reroutes of like different sizes. I think one route I had in my head was doing the initial like spiritless jump over to salt pile, and then going and doing Invisiblock, and then warping back to the salt pile checkpoint and doing the rest of the route and finishing in shards. That was one route I had. And then another route I had of like the other end of the spectrum was like just rerouting like the turnips and crepe moon order. But then I arrived at the route that we do now, and I think when I timed it, it was about 3 seconds slower.
Yeah.
And I've been messaging Zach this whole time about all my different routing ideas, and we kind of decided between us that this route had potential to be faster. And I think we spent maybe another day going through it and optimizing different sections, and Zach going, actually, no, you can get that checkpoint after 2 turnips when you roll into shards, and then warp to it at the end instead of taking the pipe out. And that saved a second, and there was another way. We found another way of doing the salt pile jump at the start, which saved like another second or 2. And I timed it when we got the finished clips as like a 5:37, I think, 5:37, 5:38, and our goal was a 5:39 at the time. So I was like, great, this route is saving like 1 second, 2 seconds. And I'd gone to Zach's, I think that night.
That was one time we did not plan a trip. We were just like, we have to sort this out. Come over to my house.
And in my mind, I was like, it's going to come out as like a 5:37. And we got the clips. We did the splice. Zach spliced it all together, and it came out as a 5:33.8. So it was saving 4-5 seconds over the other route that we were doing, which was honestly so much more than I thought it would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like the coolest route in the entire
We're so
run.
proud of it. We're so proud.
I'm so proud of it. Zach's so proud of it.
I mean, still, when we get to Luncheon in runs now, literally every time, no exceptions, every time, there is always at least one person in chat that goes, yo, what the hell? Where are you going, bro? And it's like so surprised. And it's like, it's so much fun and so gratifying for us that, like, even if we're on an awful run and we killed it in, like, snow or something and we're not on pace anymore, that, like, there's still at least always one person who watches us in Luncheon and is, like, surprised, and it brings a smile to their face. We're so happy with that. And it's made us think, like, how many other kingdoms can we do, you know? Is there anywhere else where 2-player has some advantage that no one's really thought about yet? And we've tried stuff. We really have, and we haven't gotten anywhere yet. But don't count us out.
Don't count us out.
Yeah, I mean, I know Placid Mink and all the mostly just Placid Mink actually. I know he kind of has come up with a ton of stuff for tasks, but I can't think of anything that looks particularly RTA viable yet.
Recently, in the last week, we were talking about it in my chat earlier. Yeah, Snarl found Reroute for Cascade in 2-player. Unfortunately, not RTA viable. Very, very frame perfect. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Snarl realized like, hey, this kingdom, there's 2P exclusive stuff that can reroute the entire thing, and it's saving like 4 in BTT. It's huge.
Yeah, they've been talking about 2P
Yeah,
reroutes for Cascade for so long, and I was like, when
yeah,
is this gonna be like? When is this gonna be tested? And now it's just in BTT, so that's like
yeah.
even crazier. Because I did not think it'd be in BTT anytime soon, but I was definitely proven wrong with that one. So yeah, it's kind of crazy like how many 2P strats like there are in BTT and stuff, and even in 1P
Yeah.
that just really aren't RTA viable just because they're so insanely hard. Because Odyssey is a very hard game, just at the core of it. Yeah.
It is a very hard game. And as well, I've just thought now, just touching
Mm.
on, I think your original question about how do we kind of come up with new strats. Genuinely, a lot of them just like, I could be in the shower and I'm just thinking about a bit of movement.
No,
Like,
yeah,
oh,
genuinely,
do
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's just random thoughts throughout the
And he'll
day.
just
And
come
then,
down. He'll just come to mine like to do practice before a session, and we'll just have a list of things that we go through. And 90% of the time, nothing comes from it. He says, "I had
yeah.
this really cool idea," and we try it, and it was slower. We're like, "Okay." And it's like, "I had this really cool idea," and we try it, and then I'm like, "What if we do it this way?" And then we try that, and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's faster." Okay, write that one down, put that in the run, and it's just trial and error.
I tell you what we do have that it could be an interesting talking point is the spreadsheet.
Oh, the
Um,
spreadsheet, yeah.
yeah, so over Chris was it over Christmas?
It
I
was over
think it was.
Christmas. It was after Giggle was
After we
discovered,
got on
yeah.
56-22, and we were like, you know what, 55 is within reach. Obviously, that went very well. Uh, um, and we were obviously at this point trying to really, really hyper optimize 2P. And we went through, you know what, I'll get it on my phone because it'll be easy to show on the webcam.
Mm,
Um, we searched through old world records, old PBs, old BTTs, TASs, and even just like having played play arounds, you know, just around different kingdoms, just trying to come up with new
yeah.
movement.
Because in 2P, when it's not a very popular category, obviously there's been kind of big gaps in history. People haven't been grinding it, and there's a lot of stuff that has just been lost to time, you know. And like Gorg is the person who's come up with most of the strats that are in BTT, but there's a lot of times that we go back and we watch like a random PB from Oromi, like just like a random 59, and he just does something in Wooded, and we're like, that's so fast, and just no one realized it happened because the run had like 400 views, and like nobody who plays 2P now has watched it.
Yeah, but here we are. Here's our spreadsheet that we made, and we've color coded it. I don't know if you can see the colors. They're in this column, obviously.
Yeah, I can see
We've
the
color
colors.
coded each bit as to it's a combination of how much time it saves and how difficult the strat is. And like green would be like highest priority. And I think we had like a total time save at the top here. I think it was about 20 seconds worth of optimization.
But every single row on that sheet is like 0.5 seconds. But
oh yeah, 100%.
we just go through it every now and
together.
again, and we just try adding in a few things each session, see how they go, add in a few more things, and yeah.
Well, that leads into my next question,
obviously-
I guess. What are like the next kind of strats that you're looking at to implement in your runs that you could think of? Like, what are what's kind of the top of the list? Would you say?
Well, the most obvious glaring one is ICC, I think.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
only big time save that we're missing. Because, for those of you who don't know, 2Play is stupid. And you can't use first person camera mode in 2P. Why? Who knows? I think it's because Nintendo was like, oh my gosh, if you use first person and Cappy's like going around, it breaks stuff. And instead of fixing it, they just decided to take out first person mode because 2P was a bit of a tack on, you know, to market the game to families or whatever. So you can't use first person, which means we can't do the setup for ICC that most people do. Which is why we don't do it in runs, because the only way of doing it is without a setup. And that is very hard. It's very, very hard. You just have to throw yourself at the wall. If you miss, you die. But it saves like 7 seconds. It's so much, and it's so tempting, but it's just not worth it. But you know, if we ever want to go for anything closer to, I don't want to say 54, but in the lower 55 range, like that's that's a really big hurdle for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go on.
Okay, I was just about to say, this isn't really a question, but I do want to elaborate on the Nintendo is stupid part by saying it really annoys me that you cannot do 2-player online. I feel like that would just...
Yeah.
I don't understand why they didn't do that. That would be really nice, because unfortunately...
I don't know.
I mean, you guys are very lucky that you happen to go to the same university, because I don't even know what the odds are for that, because unfortunately there are not speedrunners just in like every neighborhood of the world. So it is hard. It is hard to do 2P when you don't have online, but it is always really fun whenever I do get to. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of worked out the odds very roughly. I mean, we're both very similar people. We both like stats. And
Yeah,
we
the
both
problem-
every now
yeah.
and then just kind of work out the odds of things. But we were speaking about this. It was genuinely after we did our last 2P session. Usually
It's on like the
whenever we do
doorstep,
2P,
wasn't it?
whenever we do 2P, I walk out. We have a lovely emotional goodbye every week. But on this last 2P session, we maybe stood outside Zach's front door for about 10 minutes, just kind of just talking about 2P and life, you know.
Yeah.
And we were like, not only was it like an astronomically small chance of 2 very high level speedrunners going to the same university, but beyond that, it was quite a small chance of us doing a 2P run and then going, you know what, let's do more 2P runs, and ending up doing it for 2 years. You know, I think Zach said there was probably a 9 out of 10 chance that we do one 2P run and go, oh, that was fun, and maybe meet up for drinks sort of every couple of months or so. But we're very lucky in that,
Yeah.
you know, it's worked so well, and that, you know, we are such a good...
Yeah,
is such a
we
good
work well
with our
together,
team.
and I genuinely don't know what the chances are that wouldn't be the case. Like,
Yeah.
we were like, how many people? I said, James, how many people do you think you could do 2-player with? And he was like, you know what, I'm actually not sure that there would be like really anyone else that I know that I could, you know, really grind out something like that with. Just in terms of like mindset and like working with each other and stuff like that. It is quite remarkable. Not only, like you said, the chances of 2 high-level speedrunners meeting each other, but 2 high-level speedrunners that get on really well, have a similar run mindset, and, you know, can do a horrible grind together without just like punching each other in the face.
Yeah, even if it was online, I feel like the chances would be pretty low for a lot of like pairings of people, like that they actually like can grind it out. So the fact that you guys are also like that online isn't a thing, and that you guys also just are able to do that, that's pretty crazy, honestly. Yeah.
It's not just as simple as doing it with someone. You know, people are like, oh, like what if Zach and Tyrone, you know, like start doing 2P together, like best Cappy player, best Mario player, and it's like, that's true. We theoretically could get a very good time, but just doing it together doesn't mean that we would, because what if Tyrone and I just don't get on in that sort of environment?
Yeah.
You know? There's a very high chance of that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys aren't anywhere close to the same age as you are with Jambo, so it would be like...
Yeah, I mean, it's just little stuff like that
it'd just be
too,
a weirder dynamic, probably, just in general, so...
Yeah. It would, and to be fair, I've seen so many different occasions of people, you know, doing one-off 2P streams, and
I don't recall any names, but as a certain person on this podcast that I found quite funny.
and I mean, we did in our last week, I think it was 40 hours of 2P.
Can't do
something
that.
like that. 40 hours of 2P in a
Yeah.
week, and neither of us punched each other.
Yeah.
And you know, as you said, I feel like most other cases you wouldn't be able to get through 2 or 3 sessions without just you know getting too hot-headed and having a break.
Yeah.
But we've managed very, very well.
Yeah, it is very impressive how positive you guys are able to stay, like, after people make mistakes, but it does make sense, because, like, obviously, especially in, like, Zach's case, like, you can't really get mad at Jambo, because he's, like, doing 2D...
And I don't, yeah.
Like, he's doing 2D SS, like, how are you going to get mad at him? He's probably more upset, honestly, like, whenever he feels
I think a lot of people think when we say, like, oh, yeah, we don't get mad at each other, it's like, we feel mad, but like we just like make sure to hold it in and, you know, just smile for the camera.
Yeah.
It's like, I genuinely have never, maybe like once, but like I've basically never like actually even felt even remotely angry. I've been sad, sure, if he's like killed a run. The the one in Pillars that he killed, I was like, damn it, man. But
Yeah,
it's like those
funny.
feelings, those feelings don't even cross my mind because I mean, like I couldn't do what he's doing.
Yeah.
I've done my best, and if he makes a mistake, that's fine. It's like if you're watching a speedrunner, like I'm watching Jambo stream. If he kills a run, I'm not gonna sit and be like punching my leg. You stupid idiot, James. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
He does his Mario, I do my Cappy. I do well, he doesn't. It's fine. He does well, I doesn't. I don't. It's fine.
Yeah, I imagine you'd be madder at yourself for mistakes than you would at the other person, especially like when you are in like escape and the pillars thing was definitely very unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, I guess what is your like kind of ultimate goal in 2-player as of now, and do you like what's like the limit that you see yourselves going to, and also like how much more time do you even have to do 2-player? Are you planning on doing it post university? I think
that's a great question.
You guys have like 2 more years or something, I think, but I don't know.
We don't really have a particular time in mind in terms of like a goal time we want to hit, but we've talked about it before, and we've said that like our goal with 2P is to just I don't know how do I express it, just to make it optimal,
just reach the limit.
Yeah.
I guess to reach the limit, I think a phrase that we've used that we might get in a bit of trouble for is get it to a point where it's just completely untouchable, at least for a fair amount of time. Because at the moment we're 1 second ahead of 1P.
Yeah.
And obviously there's so much more potential. Realistically, it is just to fulfill the potential that 2P has, I think.
Yeah.
Once we get a run.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
2P.
And as well with
Go on. No, you go ahead. I think you were going to say what I was.
With how much longer have we got to do 2P? We're both doing 3-year degrees, right? We've done 2 years already.
Okay.
And 3 minus 2 is 1.
Yeah.
So we have
maths undergraduate right here, chat.
Exactly. The maths degree is proving to be very helpful. But there is a point with 2P. Obviously, the record's getting more and more optimal. There is a point where in our lives, as we get older and as we get busier, that we physically won't be able to meet up frequently enough to be able to keep up with how optimal the category is.
Yeah.
Because there will come a point where once a week won't cut it. And obviously there'll also come a point where we're not free once a week, or at least for 1 full day a week, to put in the time that we need to. So I guess until that point, we're still going to play as much as we are now. We're still going to try and optimize it as much as we can, but it's not something that's going to happen for years and years and years purely because of logistics. We are 2 separate people with 2 separate lives. We're not always going to be able to make them line up with each other.
Yeah.
We have 1 more year of university.
We've got 1 more year in us, definitely.
And we just want to leave 2-player in a place where we feel, where we feel like we've brought the category to kind of close to its potential. We've left a mark, and just somewhere where someone can pick up from what we've done. Someone else who's on a university course of the speedrunner, or whoever it might be, gorging in with his hands and feet, or maybe, with someone else. Just leave it in a place where the next person can pick it up, and we've made huge, developments in the category. We've had our impact on it, and then someone else can kind of take the optimizations we've done and go further with them. That's what we want. We want it to be fast. We want it to be cool. We want to make a legacy for ourselves in the years that we have at uni, and eventually move on and say, we did that thing. It was pretty cool. And look back on it fondly.
Story for the grandkids, it will be.
Yeah.
And one more year is still, like, that's a lot for any percent. You guys are getting close to the limit, I feel like, already. Like, you're probably only, like, 40 seconds away from, like, when 2P would be optimally where it should be compared to Tyrone's record now.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, what you could probably realistically do with 2-player or in an RTA setting. But I do know that you guys also have talked about, I believe, doing a darker side in 2P before. So what is the plan with other categories outside of any percent? Do you plan to do 2P with darker, world peace, other mainboard categories, because they were added on to SRC like I believe sometime last year, and they haven't really been touched that much since then. So yeah, are you gonna change that?
I mean, I think the plan at the moment is to at least do a couple of darker side sessions. And I think the main caveat of that was we were waiting until I've learned darker, because Zach knows darker. Zach's done darker for a couple of, well, very, very on and off for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But I only learned the darker side route in April. And even then, I did one run and didn't touch the category for 2 months and picked it back up again last week. So, and I've obviously been on my grind since then. But ideally, by September when we're back, we'll get 55, and then our break from 55 will be doing darker side, and then I'll have learnt the route. I'll hopefully be, a very, very high level darker runner. I don't know what PB I'll have by then. It's impossible to tell, but I'll be at a point where we can confidently do darker side at a top level. And I know I've said to Zach loads of times when I've been learning darker, but there are so many points in the run that I've just thought 2P would make this so much easier and so much faster. So I'm sure it's going to be a very, very, very cool run.
Yeah.
We're
definitely not going to get it like super optimal, but I mean, I think in an ideal world, I don't know how realistic this is. It's like we get 55 this summer, do darker for like a month or two at the start of next year, get like some sub 3, I don't know, 257, 256, who knows, and then go back to 90% for the remainder of our time and get like a 55 3x or 2x. It's more just that it would be fun. I don't think we cared like as much as we do with 90% about making 2P darker like super optimal. It's just, it would be fun and a good like showcase of what we can do outside of the 90% setting.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense, because obviously darker is a long category, so to optimize that to perfection would take quite a long time, especially if any percent takes like 3 years to perfect, then darker would probably take like
no, exactly
8,
if we both did like
so.
PhDs, then sure we could perfect the entire run start to finish and get a 252, but no.
yeah
it
is quite crazy. So before I move on to some more individualized questions, what do you guys just like when you guys are done doing any percent? What are some things you just do kind of for fun? Friendship building exercises? I don't know.
Gosh. we
Whatever
just
you want to call it.
I mean,
don't.
well, what I will say is me and Zach do live about 200 miles apart.
Yeah.
Currently. Our positions right now are 200 miles apart.
280. It's almost 300.
Actually, yeah, almost 300. Yeah. I'm thinking from here to York, to be fair. So, obviously, we can't really meet up so much when we're at home.
Yeah.
We did last year, and there's a chance we will this year as well, like last summer. So I don't know. I mean, it really depends on where we end up post university. And I mean, I know I'd like to move up north, I suppose, at least.
Yeah.
In that
I mean,
area.
We are very good friends. I'm sure we've made that clear. But like at university, we only really see each other for 2P. But it's not that like we never like that's kind of how we spend time together. And every single time we meet up, we do like a good 4 or 5 hours of practice before streams. And we used to stream it sometimes, but these days we just like to do it offline because that's our time to catch up, talk to each other, have a laugh, do whatever. We always eat tea together. We'll like go and get takeout, or we'll like cook something in my kitchen or something like that. So that's kind of our chance to like actually, bond and talk to each other offline. And then we go online and do stuff there. But I mean, there is occasionally we'll like go out for a drink or go out clubbing or going out with other IRLs or that sort of thing. But yeah, there's yeah, I don't know. 2P just takes up a lot of time, and every time we're like, oh, you know what? We should go and like do something this week. We're like, Oh, but we need to do TP,
Yeah.
you know, like.
Yeah, it kind of almost it feels like a higher priority. I mean, it kind of is a higher priority, I suppose, for
Yeah.
the most part. Maybe after we've got 55, we'll be a lot more laid back about it. But
Yeah.
at least at the moment, that's how it's been. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll still meet up
Yeah.
after
I mean,
uni.
it's not like we missed out on any. But like we probably wouldn't be as good friends if we didn't do 2P every week because we probably wouldn't
No,
have seen each other
exactly.
every single week for like drinks
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
if we weren't doing it. So I think we have built quite a strong friendship through it. But like James is saying, like afterwards, we're not just going to lose contact with each other. Like,
No, of course not.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you enjoy doing it, that's all that really matters, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that's just what you do to hang out. Then it makes sense. Like it's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I signed a 3-year contract to
No.
do 2P with Zach, and after that I'd never see him ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We've talked a lot about 2-player, but both of you also obviously do a lot of 1-player whenever you can't do 2-player during the summer breaks. So yeah, we'll start with Jambo, I guess. What are your 1-player goals currently and just in the distant future, just right now?
I tell you what, if you'd have asked me this question 2 days ago, then my answer would probably be different to what it is now.
I know what he's getting on to.
My primary focus at the moment is Darker Side. And I don't yet know how far I want to push it. Obviously, like the huge main goal is a sub 3. I don't know how realistic that is. I know obviously if I put enough time into it, then I will get a sub 3. But I don't know if it's, I don't know when it's. I have no idea. I have no idea when it's going to be doable. And obviously we're back to uni in September, so I've really got 2.5 months. And like I've got a job now that I work sort of between like 20 and 30 hours a week. I don't have as much time as I used to, and I've also got an exam resit. I guess I didn't sit it the first time. It was I deferred it. That I'm gonna have to sit mid-August, so I've obviously got that to work into my schedule as well. Studying for that. So yeah, I can't put quite as much time into it at the moment as I'd ideally want to. And as well, I think with me, I say only having a 309 is there's a long way to go practice wise to get I guess shave 10 minutes off my PB. So I'd have to pour loads of time into that. The reason my answer is different to what it would have been a couple of days ago is because yesterday I decided to do a spontaneous any percent session. I haven't done 1p any percent since like the first week in January, right? When I got my 56, I haven't touched the category for ages, but I did an 80% session yesterday because I didn't have enough time for a Darker Side run. And I did 3 runs, and on my third one, I was like maybe 3 or 4 behind my PB going into Bowser's. I think I still had like 56, 54 best possible time into Bowser's. And the run wasn't good. My runs weren't insane, but I really felt like my movement had improved. So my plan initially was to just not touch any percent for the summer, but after having done that stream yesterday and feeling like my movement's improved a lot, I feel like I kind of have to do any percent because I feel like I can PB by even without adding the wooded clips. I feel like I can PB by a decent amount still. So I don't know. So Darker Side, I want to get a very, very good time, at least maybe like top 5, I suppose, which I think is a 304. And I think that's very doable for me. I mean, my summer best is a 304 at the moment, and that's just from doing 6-7 runs. And yeah, so that's the aim for Darker Side, and I suppose for any percent, if I can get. I mean, the thing is with me having a 56-59 is that I can't really aim for a minute barrier.
Yeah.
Obviously, the next minute is a 55, which is so far out of my reach at the moment.
Yeah.
So there isn't really like a concrete goal, I guess. Like I could aim for maybe 56 3x. But I suppose it'll just be do any percent until I have had enough of it really. See if
What are your
a
plans with
PB.
like the wooded clips? What have you been
Wooded
thinking about
clips?
those? Because
Well,
James obviously doesn't have a hackable switch, so practicing maze clip
no.
and pipes
Oh,
clip
that's
is
true.
awful.
I will say
Yeah.
Tyrone's pipes clip tutorial is really, really good. His pipes tutorial is
Yeah,
probably
Really?
I'm hitting it like 50% now.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
I'm getting
it's
it
really
pretty
not that
consistently
bad.
too.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I've watched it a couple of times and I've tried to make sense of it, but I don't know if there's something that I'm doing wrong, like systematically, but it's not doing it for me. But I did hit maze clip both times in my stream yesterday.
Did you? I had no
Uh,
Oh
idea.
wow.
I did,
Because I
yeah.
was gonna say his PB didn't have either of the wooded clips because no practice mod, stupid, hard to practice.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, with your improvements, do you plan on keeping going without them, or do you really think you need them to get like a good time?
I think eventually I will, obviously. There's only so far I can go
Yeah.
without them, but I suppose if you think about it, obviously Tyrone is the best in the world. He's got the best movement in the world. If he didn't do the wooded clips, he'd still have a 56 1x, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Something like
suppose
that,
that's my ceiling without them.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy. I'd be so happy.
I was
with
gonna
that.
say, yeah.
So in a way, I don't really need them, but I suppose that's also kind of saying that I could 57 without nut clip.
I feel like pushing
it's pointless, really.
Yeah, pushing yourself to 56 1x without any of the wooded clips sounds harder than just doing the wooded clips and figuring them out, even without practice mod.
Especially something like
Yeah.
pipes, which doesn't really lose anything to miss.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, no. I think if I'm honest, I've kind of forgotten how to do the regular fast pipe cycle. So me going for pipes clip at the moment actually genuinely doesn't lose anything.
Oh, sorry, it would lose. I forget that not everyone does the baby cycle. I do.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah. Okay, it would lose time, but
it would lose a bit for me. And maze, it's hard because I feel like with clips like this is that you not only need to practice until you kind of get them once or twice, but you need to practice until you have kind of like a full understanding of how the clip works.
Yeah.
Which I don't yet.
And it's hard to get when it takes like 40 seconds per reset as well.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan of, getting to wooded and kind of just spinning a wheel.
I mean, there's a reason. I don't know if you're aware, but during the end of our like week of 55 grinding, we took out maze clip from our runs.
Yeah.
Like it's and in 2P, it's like 10 times easier. It's like really easy compared to 1P and 2P. But even then, it's just that like, okay, another run to wooded, spin the wheel. Are we gonna get out?
Yeah.
It's just a horrible thing mindset wise.
Yeah, it is still hard in 2P. I did try it with Buster a little bit.
I mean, it is like 2 or 3 frames, but yeah.
But I think on that topic, if I can get them cracked, then I can genuinely see myself really, really pushing 1P. Because that's realistically what sets me apart from, Tyrone and Buster and Lucid and whoever at the moment, is that I don't do the clips. But once I do learn them, I'll be on the same page. I'm on completely level playing field, and then I'll just be able to push it from there. So there is potential, but it does hinge on me learning and getting consistent at the clips, which I don't know how likely that is. So I suppose that's my plans. It's, I want to try and do as much as I can over summer, but I've also got other things, other priorities in my life, aside from Odyssey at the moment. So
yeah,
I'm just trying to balance everything. So yeah, I mean that's as much as I can do at the moment.
And I will say about any percent is it is kind of crazy how like once you get 56, like unless you're Tyrone, you're not really pushing for the next minute barrier. You kind of just have to if you do more runs and you find yourself in that spot, which I feel sorry for anyone who does more runs after 56, but if you find yourself in that spot, you kind of just have to like you're just pushing yourself to your own limit, and you're not really going for anything in particular. I feel like I've seen that with like Buster and other people as well.
It's just a big competition for second place at that point.
Yeah, it kind of does. Because I guess second place is 56-28 by Mitch.
It's much more achievable, and it's kind of like, it's like the world record's out of reach, so like the only achievable goal is right behind it.
Yeah.
I think that's also a lot of the reason why I haven't touched any percent in as long as I have. is because there isn't that big of a goal. There isn't as big of a goal, right in front of me as there was when I had 57 or when I had 58. So there's not as much motivation there. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously room for improvement, and I guess if you want to think about leaderboard positions, I can push for second place, which has always been like a sub goal I've had. I don't mean like a Twitch.
I know what you
mean.
A side quest.
A side quest,
yeah.
And it would be a
good way
side
to put
quest if I managed to do it. So yeah, but we'll see. I mean, it's achievable, especially a leaderboard second place. But yeah, I mean, obviously that is providing no one else PBs between now and when I get 56 3x. So,
yeah.
Which is unlikely, but we'll see.
All right, well, moving on to Zach. How is the sub-hour grind going? I know you're going for sub-hour in any percent, streaming it quite a bit recently.
Yeah.
Gonna try to get that by April.
About that. Okay, listen. Jambo is a very magical man. We spend a lot of time talking, obviously, and we usually have some very deep talks after we finish stream for like an hour and in the early hours of the morning. And we kind of, my improvement's been very slow. I started the 59 grind in February, the first week of February, and I'm still going. And I've done 39 streams, and I still have 1016. And what Jam and I have cracked it down to is I've only been playing twice a week, which was fine for most. I've always done like it's always been like 2 or 3 any percent sessions and 1 casual stream a week, and that's what I did. And then we got to uni, it was 2 any percent, 1 2-player, and 1 casual session a week, and those were my 4 streams. But James was like, Zach, it's just not going to do it. And I didn't want to hear it, but he was right. And I've been trying with the daily streams now, and immediately I've just been getting a bunch of like 100s and 59 paces just out of nowhere, just streaming regularly. So that is the current goal. I'm going to get it. It's going to be very cool. But the thing is that when I first started speedrunning, the world record was 57-54 by Mitch, and there are about 30 59s, right?
Yeah.
About 30 people.
Now there are 80.
Now that's 58. There are 30 people-ish who have 58. And I feel like, although 59, when I started speedrunning, was like the huge, amazing thing, which I couldn't even fathom, I couldn't dream of, I never thought I could do. And I'm like, getting right on the verge of getting it now. I feel like to really do 2020 16-year-old Zach justice, I need to get what that kind of is with today's roots and tricks, and that's 58. So I think like my final goal in any percent is probably going to be around there, because I've said, I said at the start of the podcast that I care a lot more about the content creation side of things. I care so much about like my YouTube and my Twitch. I mean, since that 2p week we did last month, I've been averaging like 50-60 viewers. I kind of want to be maybe looking at Twitch partner, and again, just growing my YouTube channel more. And speedrunning kind of is secondary to that, as more of a means to, to achieve those goals, to grow and to do content creation. Obviously, I still care a lot about my speedruns, but, there's a chance that, like, I get 59, I get a lower 59, I get 58, and then a new game comes out, and, I start doing that. I start, try and hop on the trends and see where that goes. So I think, like, as a whole, my goals for Odyssey have always been very local to, like, the time frame that I'm in right now. I don't really have any goals past 59, maybe a 58. I kind of want to get, like, a 309 darker. I want to improve, like, my PBs and other categories, but like, going into 2025, I don't even know if I'm still going to be doing Odyssey, depending on what happens with, like, the Switch 2 and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it just depends where things go. Whatever makes successful YouTube videos, whatever makes successful streams is kind of what I'm going to be doing. And at the minute, that's any percent, and I'm okay with that. But
and I completely agree too with the 58 being the new thing, because I got sub hour and I was like when I had mid 100, I was like, I don't like any percent. When I get sub hour, I'm done. And now I am every now and then doing any percent, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's just how it kind of works, unfortunately now. Like now I'm like, maybe I'll get 58 someday, and maybe I'll get 57 someday, and it's just like this.
From what I've heard, the jump from
thing.
59 to 58 usually isn't as difficult as
that is true.
Because my sob right now is like a 58-13. If I add DSS, like maybe Spiritless Lunch, maybe not, like new Shards, reverse town, and then just improve my golds, which I still think are pretty bad. Like literally right now, if I quit any percent of dead ILs, I could get my sob to like a 57, maybe like a 57 4x, and that's 58able. Like there's not really as much of a gap, because the moment you get 59, there's suddenly a huge number of strats that you kind of unlock, I guess.
Yeah.
Some people, like, I know you do DSS and stuff like before 59, but yeah, I mean, it's I feel like it won't be a huge stepping stone for me.
I am still unlocking strats too, though. Like my launching gold still doesn't have spiritless. There's a lot of my golds that I really need to improve, because I could definitely also get like a mid 57, even a low 57 sob with some of my movement. I feel like, but like right now my sob's only 4 seconds better than yours, because I have a 5'11" moon. Like some of my golds are atrocious.
Right, exactly. So I don't feel like 58 will be too big of a problem, but I am very prone to mental barriers and stuff like that.
That is true,
I'm not gonna get my hopes up.
Anyway, moving on to the content creation side of things, like you said, you do obviously do a lot of YouTube and Twitch stuff. So, what is kind of like the history behind like the channels? Like what is kind of the editing process when it comes to like the YouTube videos? How do you make those big videos that you make every now and then? Because those are really good videos. Like
this one.
The editing does not sound like something that I could do in a million years.
Well, people always say that. They're like, bro, I can't edit. Like, you're so good at editing. How do you learn it? They think that I've like freaking gone to Oxford and like taken a course in editing. You know, I learned to edit. I just started editing when I was like 10. I used to make little movies with my friends on my mum's like movie camcorder that shot at like 720p. And I would edit them on Movie Maker. And then my dad was like, because he works at university, he was like, oh, I have an Adobe key, like you can have this version of Adobe Premiere. So when I was like 12, I was learning Adobe Premiere, and I started to make YouTube videos, and they were rubbish. I was awful at editing. But I just kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. And, you know, every time I didn't know how to do something, instead of just accepting I didn't know how to do it, I'd go and look up a tutorial, and I'd learn something new. And I watch a ton of YouTube, and I draw inspiration, and I learn how to structure my videos, and I learn what works, and I ask for feedback from people. So in terms of learning to edit, it's not like an exclusive thing. It's just something that I learn over time. And in terms of the editing process of videos, for the really big videos like the documentary, I have kind of cracked down a bit of a process. I usually start by bullet pointing a list of like key points that I want to talk about. So for the newest one, I think I had about 15, and that was literally just like kind of going in chronological order through like our 2P journey and all of the main points I wanted to talk about. And then I just expand on each of those points, make each one a paragraph, write a script. I think the script for the newest video is like, I don't know, like 5,000 words or something. It's pretty big. And then I'll just go through the script kind of paragraph by paragraph. I'll record the voiceover just for that paragraph. I'll get all the footage, I'll get the music, that sort of thing, and I'll just do it like that and go through the whole thing. Like, there's not any like crazy secret, any crazy, you know, like journey that I take. It's just a case of doing it. I don't know, and getting better with every one. I mean, I look back at the 2P video I made last year, which at the time I was like, I'm a YouTuber. I should have 10 million views on this. I thought it was the best thing ever. And I watch it now and I'm like, man, that video wasn't great. I really believe that compared to the new one. And the new one right now, I think like, I'm a YouTuber, where's my 10 mil? But I know that a year from now, I'm probably going to look back at the one that I released the other month and be like, it was good, but there was room for improvement and I'm going to be doing better. So it's an iterative process. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, as an objective outsider, I would say I think that both of them deserve multiple millions of views because they are pretty good.
Maybe.
Don't be too harsh on yourself. They are very good. I mean, obviously you can always improve. Like even like when you're one of the best YouTubers in the world, but like,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's always just gonna, whenever you look back on any of your stuff, no matter like what level YouTuber you are, I feel like it just looks bad. So yeah. But what is what is like your ultimate goal, I guess, with like YouTube and Twitch, at least right now?
I don't know, mate. I started with YouTube. I wanted a YouTube partner, and I got that, so that's pretty cool. I don't really have like a sub number in mind. I mean,
Yeah.
like really thinking really long term, like pipe dream. It would be cool to have like a silver play button, but I mean, I know I could probably get there. It just takes consistency, and I don't really have that much time with uni and work and everything. Twitch, I'm much closer to a goal, and that's partner. It's something I never thought I can do. I'm still not sure because, like, you know, I'm still like 25 viewers off, which isn't a lot, but it's a lot, you know? And for like 3 years, I didn't make any growth on Twitch. In my first year, I went from like 5 average viewers to 25 and then stopped for 3 years straight at 25 average viewers, never went up. And it's only this year that it's now gone up to like 50. And there's a chance it just stops for 3 more years. I don't know. So I think I don't really have any long-term goals. I'm just going to keep doing cool stuff, keep making stuff I'm proud of, and see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, I will say, if the Switch 2 comes out and you are like streaming that, like if there's a new 3D Mario or something, that would definitely help.
That's what I'm thinking, because you know, you see people like Small Ant and Fearsome who were streaming and making YouTube videos for a while, and then Odyssey came out and like that, you know, and it's just jumping on those trends. I've already got the editing experience, the base audience, and there is a chance that a new 3D Mario comes around, as long as it comes out maybe after I finish my university degree.
That would be
if I just spend, you know, content grind 8 hours a day, there's always that chance of being picked up by the algorithm. But yeah.
Yeah, I do notice whenever like a new game comes out that as long as you're there from the start, it dramatically helps, because like I think Fearsome like had one video before Odyssey came out, and then he just started cranking out videos, and he just immediately gained popularity. Like, I wish I was there when Odyssey came out. That would have been I would be in a different spot right now completely.
Me too. I think about what would have happened if I was at the point I am now with Odyssey like just coming out. It could be very different. I don't know.
But yeah, everyone check out Zach's YouTube and Twitch, because it's pretty cool. And check out Jambo's YouTube and Twitch too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jambo has the impressive speed runs.
My process of editing videos is actually very similar to Zach's. I have to, you know, really, really fine tune the start time, and then I have to really, really fine tune an end time, and then I upload the video. So obviously very, very similar, you know, time consuming processes. So yeah, I mean, it's equal levels of quality of videos as well on our channel, I think.
Yeah.
So
I mean, listen, like his speedruns are much more impressive than mine. You know, we'd probably do actually, in a way, put a similar amount of time into each video that we make, because you just spend so much longer actually speedrunning and practicing than me. Like,
that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But what I have gained from Zach actually is how to make a good thumbnail.
Yeah,
bloody hell! I made his thumbnails for a bit, and then he was like, "You know what? Let me try one."
Oh,
he's
really?
better than me now. His thumbnails are insane. Like the past like 5, 6, 7 videos are all him.
Oh wow!
His thumbnails. He's really good.
I was actually about to ask, like, the thumbnails look really good. Do you just have Zach do them?
No, he's like my proud student.
That is really impressive.
So
let me check.
Zach made the 5622 thumbnail.
I think the last one I did was a 5622.
Every single thumbnail after that on my channel is made by myself, my lovely brain. So
just in some like random online like image editor, right? Yeah.
I've learned from his teachings, and I mean, there's like quite a clear style with mine. I use the same font every time, but it's just little things that I've picked up on.
So, is there a certain
like why we work so well? You know?
Yeah. Is there a certain like online like site that you use to edit thumbnails as a person making videos myself?
I use this website called Pixel Art to do my thumbnails.
Okay.
Oh, you use Pixel Art.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And there isn't like a huge range. I mean, there's like it's one of these websites where you could pay extra to get like, 3 times as many fonts and a load of extra different, features. But the free one, obviously works very well. And like just for thumbnails, you don't need any like dynamic images. You don't need anything moving in the picture. Or anything like that. So it does the job. It doesn't need to be, crazy thumbnails for like a speedrunning PB, but they're definitely better than the thumbnails I used to make with the Switch thumbnail like picture editor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's what I use still sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it does the job.
It does. I mean, I will say, I make like KFR compilations sometimes of the records and stuff, and for my last one, I kind of just saw like a different person's KFR world record compilation, and it had like 30,000 views after like 4 months, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this thumbnail style. So then I tried that, and I will say I really like the thumbnail a lot more than any of my Switch thumbnails.
That's what content creation is about. It's market research, finding what works for other people.
I don't think it is working as well for me because because I definitely it's been a month and I am at like almost 1,000 views, which isn't
okay, not bad.
But they got like 30,000 in 3 months, so it's like that's a little interesting. But I think it's like with consistency, it will come.
Yeah, it's a good start. Yeah, you should definitely keep it up.
Yep, and yeah. So moving on, we do have 2 fan questions, so to speak. So
they're
before
anonymous questions, we get to single them out.
We do get to single them out. So before before this episode, I tweeted on my Twitter the announcement, and underneath that I put a Google form for people to put questions. And so yeah, everyone watching, if you want to put questions in from future episodes, make sure to follow my Twitter because that's probably where I'll put them in the future. I also might stream future episodes for anyone that wants to watch them live. I'm kind of thinking about that as well. But we do have 2 questions. We have one question from VGR, which is, how close were you 2 prior to your 2-player grind or going to university with each other? And do you guys think you would have became as close friends had you not gone in this 2P journey together? Obviously, kind of answer that a little bit more, but if you want to add on to it, feel free to go ahead.
I mean, outside of SMO, we are actually very similar people, as I touched on earlier.
It's kind of freaky. We just think
it's quite
the same.
Scary.
Yeah.
Like I study maths, Zack studies computer science, so there's quite a lot of overlap there.
Mm-hmm.
And we took very, very similar, subjects at high school and college. So I feel like it's quite hard. It's quite a hard one to answer because obviously we wouldn't have had as much of an opportunity to be able to meet up with each other and talk to each other as much. So if we hadn't have done 2P, there's every chance we would have, got on as well. And obviously, like, we are similar enough people and we have got on well. But we probably wouldn't have, we wouldn't have been able to tell. We wouldn't have met up enough. Like,
without the reason to see each other so much, we probably wouldn't have seen each other so much and realized that we were actually really compatible as friends. And also, the first part of that question was, did we know each other before? No. Like, we met up for drinks once, and then the next time we saw each other was 2P.
Yeah.
Like, the first I ever heard of you was, I think I'd seen you, like, put your streams in some of, like, the promo channels in Discord.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
I'd, like, popped into your chat once or twice, but, like, I'd never VC'd with Zack. Quite an interesting point, actually, from when we met is obviously I'd seen Zack's face and I'd heard his voice, but he didn't know what I looked like.
He was with one of his flatmates the first time we met, and I walked outside and I saw them both, and I genuinely didn't know which one was James. Like, he had to come up to me and introduce himself, and I was like trying to figure it out. I was like, it's probably that one, but I don't know.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even know until you said earlier that, like, you found out like you were going to the same uni from a Twitch chat. I think that's kind of really funny, actually. I kind of just assumed you were online friends like before that, and that you just
and he glossed
noticed,
over
like,
it,
found
but
out.
he
But
said in my chat where he was going, and I missed the message. And I actually went back and watched some of the stream afterwards for whatever reason. I was like
really?
trying to find something, and I was watching back the stream, and I saw his chat message, watching it back, and that's when I went and DM'd him, being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed this. I'm going to the uni too."
Oh wow! I just assumed like you noticed it, and then we're just like, okay, I'm gonna make sure to DM him about that later.
What if I never went back and saw that chat message, and we just never really realized that we were going to the same? Like it.
That would be crazy if you just if you went 2 or 3 years in uni, like walking past each other in the hallways, and you never noticed. I mean, I'm sure Jambo would have recognized you at one point, but that would it definitely would have been like, it could have been like 5 months lost of the 2P grind. Like it would have could have been really bad. Yeah, it's a good thing.
I mean, there was someone in my chat who I won't point out who it was, but there was someone in my chat recently who was like, "Oh my gosh, I go to the same uni as you." And they have done since we were like at uni, and they just happen to have never seen either of us on campus to like say hi.
I think they have graduated, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're a year above us, or 2 years above us, and they did a master's.
Okay.
I think they still like come to one of the social clubs every now and then.
Yeah, they go to like Smash Sock or something. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, our uni runs different like societies and clubs, and one of them's like a Smash Bros society, I think. And this person came in Zach's chat and said that they go to that every week. So I mean, maybe there's a chance to meet someone else down the line, but
so they might still be able to meet you guys. That's good for them.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And then the second question is from Tanini56, who I actually don't know if I'm saying his name right at all. And they want to know what you think about this podcasting format and what is the potential for it in the speedrun community. I will say, this is not the first speedrunning podcast at all. There are quite a few out there. I think there's 2 Pace Pals podcasts. There's Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight, which I think GTAce does. And then there is the JLB podcast, which is actually like kind of the podcast that made me want to do this. It's run by Needle and Joker Factor, who I've been listening to them. They're very, very entertaining podcast. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this format, I guess?
I mean, yeah, it's, you know, there are all these other podcasts, but within the SMO community, we don't really have anything. So it's just, I don't know, I guess it's a really nice way to kind of just have those insights into high-level runners, see how they do things, and it could even help people learn like how to improve at speedrunning just from hearing like how people like structure their practice and how they like deal with mindset issues and that sort of thing. It's, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just always going to bring the community closer in some way and help people learn more about their favorite SMO creators.
Yeah, I think as well it can depend on like the guests that you get, and obviously podcasts are massive and people love like behind the scenes sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which obviously like any guest you get on is gonna have a story to them. And like I'm sure people will love that. So it's definitely got potential. And I mean obviously you've given examples of speedrunning podcasts that obviously are doing well, and you know, some of them that are still going. But like obviously it's got potential to go past that. It's you know, it might be quite unlikely, might be quite likely, I don't know. But yeah, I mean it's we'll have to see. You just have to keep getting more guests on, and then we'll see. But I mean, I for one have enjoyed doing this tonight.
Oh, it's been lovely, yeah. It's been like 2 hours. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, the recording is at an hour and 33 minutes right now. So it's
genuinely, it's flown by.
It's kind of flown by. Yeah, it's it's been a lot of fun. I will say, because I did notice this at the start of the podcast, and it's completely unrelated to anything we've talked about, so I haven't found a good time to say it, but I did notice like right after we started that the background for like the screen, it looks exactly like the BTTV8 background.
I thought that's what you were going for.
It wasn't. I
thought that was the whole point.
It genuinely wasn't. I just found a random background on Google, and I was like, okay,
sweet.
this works.
Right.
I wonder if this is the exact same background. Like,
I don't think it's quite,
thing.
but
I don't think it is.
similar. Yeah.
It is very similar though. But I did notice that. It did kind of just. I needed to say that at some point because it kind of blew my mind when I noticed that.
No, I love that color palette.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works really well. Also, thanks ZackInTheBox for the SpeedTalk podcast logo, by the way. Zach made that like 30 minutes before the episode.
Literally, yeah. He sent us a picture of the layout and was like, does this work? And I'm like, give me a second. And absolutely cooked up a logo.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And it will probably be there in every episode going forth, which I am probably going to do. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking probably bi-weekly episodes every 2 weeks with the different guests each time. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to hearing from some other SMO runners for sure.
Yeah, I have a lot of people in mind. I'm probably gonna do like half Odyssey runners and half like other runners, mostly Mario games because that's most of the people I know. But if I'm open to really anyone, if anyone's watching this video and you guys want to be in an episode someday, let me know, and then maybe eventually you will be. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I think that if there's anything else you want to say, feel free to say it now. I don't really have any more questions.
I mean, all I've got to say is thank you very much for hosting. It's been fun. It's been
really fun.
Like we said before, it's literally an hour and a half's flown by, and there hasn't been a moment of silence. We've just been constantly talking throughout.
Yeah, humans like talking about themselves. So surprisingly enough, this sort of format works really well. No, it's been great, and you've come up with some really good questions, some really insightful ones, and I think we've given a good representation of what 2P is, how we've come to where we are, who we are, and I guess what I have to say is, go run some 2P, guys. Do it with your hands and feet. Do it with your mum, your sister, your dog. I don't care. It's a really cool category. It's fast, and if you spend a little bit of time, because it can be frustrating at first, but if you spend a little bit of time practicing, learning some movement, you could get pretty far. And we want to see the 2P leaderboards contested because, they've been a little bit quiet, and we don't like that. Let's get some more runs on there.
Yeah. Hopefully the next 3D Mario has online 2P, because that would definitely help.
Maybe.
It would definitely help. But yeah, everyone make sure, once again, follow these people on everything you can. Search the internet for them. You will find them quickly. But their Twitches and their YouTubes and probably their Twitters will all be linked in the description, as well as my Twitch and everything, so make sure you follow those too. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. This was a really good episode 1. I'm glad I was thinking, who should I have for episode 1? And then I was thinking about it, and then I was like, Zack and Jambo, and I was like, that's it. That is the answer. But yeah, it's really been great, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks a lot. See you later, guys.